Henry. Kim and I met in college. It was a small college in the South Bay, California. The freshman dorm on campus was 11 stories tall, the tallest building on campus and even in the surrounding area. My room was on the 8th floor, which was all male. Her room was on the 9th floor, which was entirely for women. I first met her at a party between two floors. She was friendly and there was a rapport between us, but I met a few other girls and nothing much happened at that point. We were both athletes. She was on a tennis scholarship and I played baseball. I was not particularly in demand after school, but by the third year I had earned myself a scholarship, which made my parents' financial situation easier. We spent the next 2+ years on the periphery of each other's lives, sharing some activities, bumping into each other at the gym, things like that. I don't remember seeing her with any other guys and thought she might have a boyfriend at home. We had casual conversations here and there, but nothing romantic. One evening, we ran into each other at one of the restaurants on campus. All the tables were occupied, and I invited her to sit at my table. We ended up having a great time talking for several hours. Finally, I made up my mind and asked her out. She looked at me with a sly smile and said, "Aren't we already on a date?" This is where it all started. Shortly before graduation, I got down on one knee and proposed, and she happily accepted. We were married within 6 months and had a romantic honeymoon funded by Kim's parents in Hawaii. I took an entry-level position at a local computer engineering company, and Kim began teaching 9th grade math and coaching the junior high tennis team. We were both looking forward to having kids, but decided to wait a year after we got married before we started trying. Kim stopped taking the pills and we got to work with enthusiasm. However, after 2 years, nothing worked for us, and we turned to a fertility specialist to rule out medical causes. Unfortunately, this did not produce results. Kim cannot have children. It turned out that she suffered from several illnesses as a child. She took up tennis to improve her health during the recovery process, and they deprived her of the ability to have children. We were both depressed, but she was more depressed than me, which is natural. This didn't change my feelings for her, and I was willing to spend the rest of my life with her alone, perhaps considering adoption in the future. Kim was completely inconsolable for about a month, but then her mood began to improve rapidly over the next few weeks. She went to therapy, but I still thought such a quick recovery was amazing, but what did I know? As part of her mental recovery from the news, Kim cut back on her teaching. Now she taught just a couple of classes early in the morning and then returned in the afternoon to coach the tennis team. Naturally, this affected her salary, but her mental health was more important, and I soon received a promotion which made up the difference. Kim and I, even at the beginning of our relationship, weren't the types to have sex every night, although it was her decision, not mine. But we regularly had sex 1-2 times a week. There was one dark month after the news when there was no sex, but then the schedule was restored and never changed. We were both happy with this schedule and our relationship continued as usual. I was happy only with her and believed that she was happy only with me. We didn't spend separate nights with friends. We had friends who lived nearby that we talked to, but nothing inappropriate happened. There was no harmless flirting or anything like that. I was never alone with our friends' wives, and Kim was never alone with their husbands. There was absolutely nothing to indicate that anything was wrong. Then I made the mistake that often seems to lead to the discovery of things like this. I came home early. It was the Thursday before her birthday, and I had planned to spend the weekend in the Napa wine region, visiting wineries and riding the famous wine train. I took Thursday afternoon and Friday off and planned to surprise her. As you probably already guessed, the surprise was for me. There was a strange car parked on the street, but it could have belonged to someone visiting the neighbors, so I didn't pay much attention to it. I entered the house as usual. I was neither quiet nor loud. Kim wasn't in the living room or kitchen, so I headed upstairs, and there was no doubt left about what was happening. According to what I've read, many men in this situation pull out their phones and record evidence and then leave. They consult a lawyer, begin divorce proceedings, and make elaborate plans for revenge against their soon-to-be ex-wife and her lover. A smaller number seemed to do what I do, which is to burst into the room ready to beat up whoever interfered with my marriage. Without looking at my target and in a blind rage, I ran into the room screaming and preparing to strike with a powerful blow. "Get away from my wife, you son." I heard my wife scream, "Nuo," at the same time that it dawned on me what was happening. I just stopped, shocked by what I discovered. I barely heard Kim when she spoke. "Honey, wait for me in the kitchen and we'll talk. I would like to get myself in order first." In a daze, I walked downstairs and out the door, got into my car and drove off before I realized I had no purpose. I stopped on the side of the road. My phone rang, but I rejected the call, then turned off the sound. I ended up at the house of my friend Matt and his wife Angela. Matt smiled when he saw it was me standing at the door, but his smile instantly disappeared when he saw the expression on my face. "Come in, buddy. What happened?" Angela came out of the kitchen to see what was going on, standing silently as Matt sat me down on the couch. He asked, "Did you and Kim have a fight?" I just looked at him and muttered, "Yes, we had a fight." I don't think any of them believed me, but they didn't ask questions. I asked if I could spend the night with them, and Matt assured me that their guest room was always at my disposal, but suggested that it would be better if I returned home and tried to work things out. I knew I would have to do it eventually, but right now I couldn't accept the idea, needing to come to terms with what I had seen. Who? I immediately realized that Henry's car was gone. I hoped he would wait for me downstairs so we could talk, but it seemed the shock was too much. Why did he come home early? He never, ever did that on Thursday. Did something happen at work? I became increasingly worried as the sun set, and I didn't hear from him, and he didn't answer my calls. At almost 9 p.m., the phone rang for the first time. I grabbed it without checking the caller ID. "Henry, honey, is that you? Are you okay?" But instead of his voice, I heard the voice of a woman. It was our friend Angela. "Kim, he's here and he's okay. We have him today." "Did he tell you what happened?" "Not really. He appeared at the door, looking like he'd seen a ghost, and Matt helped him to the couch. Matt asked if you two had a fight and Henry said yes, but it was clear there was more to it than that. What happened is your business, Kim, so you don't have to explain it to me. I just wanted you to know that he's okay." "Thank you, Angie. Do you mind if I go there and talk to him?" "Of course, we don't mind. We're here to help. If you think this is the best solution, then come. He's in the guest room." I drove to Matt and Angela's house, sighing in relief that I knew where Henry was, but had no idea what I would tell him. I thought it would be better to sort this out at home, where we were surrounded by happy memories, so my goal was to bring him home. I knocked on the door and greeted Matt and Angela, thanking them for supporting Henry and letting me know where he was. I headed towards the guest room. She knocked on the door and opened it, hearing "come in" from the other side. I found him quietly reading. He looked up from his book and saw me at the door. "Kimberly, if I wanted to see you now, I would just stay home." I noticed that he used my full name, which was a sure sign of his anger. "I came here to get away from you and put my thoughts in order. If you can't respect that, I'll go somewhere where you can't find me until I'm ready. Henry, we really need to talk about this right now. Let's go back home." "No. At this point, you have no right to decide what I will do or where I will go. Leave or I'll leave." I tried to object again, but the look on his face told me it wasn't a good idea. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I left the room, ran out of the house, and drove back to our empty house. I sat down at the kitchen table, drank a glass of wine, and didn't stop until I had finished the entire bottle. I hoped he would never find out, but now that he did, I hoped he would understand if I could explain everything. Perhaps I could have acted differently, but now it was no longer important. Despite drinking a bottle of wine, I was only able to fall asleep fitfully, alone in our bed. Henry. When I finally got out of the guest room, there was no one in the house. I found a note on the kitchen table. "Henry, take whatever you want for breakfast. Take your time. Then talk to your wife. She was in tears when she left. She loves you, you love her, and you can work things out. Don't forget to lock the door when you leave. Matt. I returned home and Kim was gone. A quick glance at the clock told me she was probably teaching one of her classes. I planned to ask her to take the day off for a surprise weekend, but since I didn't have time to tell her, she of course went to work. Assuming she sticks to her regular schedule, she'll be back in an hour. To pass the time, I packed a couple of bags and my toiletries. I hadn't made a final decision yet, but the likelihood of me staying here overnight seemed unlikely, so I decided to prepare. As her sedan pulled into the driveway, I felt relieved that she was truly alone and realized that the strange car from yesterday had probably belonged to her mistress. Plus, it's unlikely they'll do it again so soon after the fact. I watched from the window as Kim got out of the car and walked up to the house. I opened the door when she approached. She looked tired, and I doubt I looked any better. I'm glad you're home. Have you come to talk? Yes, I came. Kim, if we have any hope of getting through this, I need you to be completely honest with me. Please respect me enough to do this, even though you didn't respect me enough to remain faithful. I poured 2 glasses of water and joined Kim at the kitchen table. Kim spoke first. Henry, I understand that you are upset. For some reason, this made me angry. So you know what it's like to catch your wife having sex with another woman. Tell me about your experience. We will compare impressions. I didn't say I knew how you felt, just that you were upset. If you let me explain, maybe you can understand and we can get through this. How long has this been going on? About a month after we found out that I couldn't have children. It's already 2 years, Kimberly. 2 years, and how often? Every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes the days changed, but rarely. Twice a week? That's more than wanting to have sex with me. Let's just cuddle tonight, you say. Now I understand why. That's not true, Henry. Can I try to explain without interruption? Otherwise, we will just get confused. Cold. Henry, I really love you very much. But the truth is, I've always been more interested, at least physically, in women than in men. I've dated guys and had feelings for a couple of them, but I've always been in relationships with women. But by the end of my 3rd year, I realized that I had to make decisions about my future. I knew what I wanted in my career, but my personal life was more confusing. I asked myself what I really wanted and realized that more than anything in the world, I want a family. I wanted to marry a man, have children, and live the dream. And then you and I started dating, Henry, and I really fell in love with you. I don't think I ever told you this. In any case, I completely devoted myself to you. I stopped being with other women and focused on us. The day you proposed to me was the happiest day of my life. My dream was becoming a reality. Did I miss being intimate with other girls? Yes, I missed you. But I found solace in my future children and a loved one who loves me. I was happy until that terrible day at the doctor's office. The memory of this conversation with the doctor brought tears to her eyes. I could only sit and digest what she had just told me, trying my best to keep my promise not to interrupt her. She collected herself and continued. We were both depressed, I know, but it was my fault that we couldn't have children. I deprived you of the children you wanted so much. I even said that I would understand if you left, and part of me hoped that you would do so to ease my guilt. But you stayed. You spoke of our vows, in sickness and in health, and promised that you would not abandon me. This should have made me feel better, but I still felt like I was depriving you of something important, even though you had decided to stay. I was in a terrible state for a whole month, without any way out. You tried your best, and I loved you for it, but it only made me feel more guilty. And then suddenly I received a letter from Kelly. The letter itself was nothing special. She now lives in Ohio and has been trying to reconnect with some college friends. But it reminded me of the time we spent together. Suddenly I began to remember the decision I had made and think about it again. Would I have made the same choice if children weren't part of the picture? But of course, everything was not so simple because I already had you. I loved you and wanted to remain your wife. But I needed something else, otherwise I wouldn't have survived. And so I carefully began to look for a woman lover, and after a couple of weeks I found Wendy, the same woman you found me with. We met a few times just to get to know each other, but even then I started to feel better. On our third date, we ended up in bed, and we've been dating ever since. I know you noticed the change in my mood because you mentioned it. That's why. Do you love her? I asked. I love her. I have very strong feelings for her, but I love you more. Are you going to continue dating her? If you don't want me to stop, then I won't. This answer annoyed me. So this is really a case where you're not sorry you did it, but you're sorry you got caught. Yes, Henry, I'm sorry you found out about this, but if I hadn't, I would be dead now. I can't regret what I did. So, if I understand correctly, you can't be truly happy just by being married to me. Either you need children or you need a woman lover, right? No, honey, I can only be happy with you, but not as happy as if you were with me and Wendy. I didn't think of it in those terms, but maybe it's true. I don't know. I was never just with you without hope of children, except for the time when we talked with the doctor, and then I clearly could not trust my feelings. Why not just be with Wendy? You could divorce me and be with her. You yourself said that you prefer women to men. Even if I wanted it, and I don't, it would be impossible. First of all, I love you, Henry. My life will no longer be complete without you. Secondly, Wendy is married and has 2 children. Even if I wanted to be with her, she is not available. Is her husband aware of your relationship? Yes. She told him about it before the wedding, that it was a part of her life that he would have to accept. She loves him, but was willing to move on if he couldn't accept it. I met him and her children. Well, isn't it wonderful? Everyone is aware, except the clueless Henry. So what about us now? I still love you, of course, but I'm in an impossible situation. Either I deprive you of something that you consider necessary for complete happiness, or I allow it and suffer myself, in addition to having to remind myself daily that I am not good enough for you as you are for me. I'd like to know, Henry. Of course, I hope that we can continue as before. Because Wendy is a woman, she gives me something that you physically cannot give. No matter how wonderful a man you are, you cannot give me the same intimacy that a woman can, just as she cannot give what you give. I don't feel like I took anything away from you by dating Wendy. Our sex life hasn't changed since Wendy came into my life. The entire time I spent with Wendy, you were at work, except for yesterday, so I never left you waiting at home to spend time with her. But perhaps the very fact of what you now know makes it impossible to continue. I've been going over it in my head over and over again, Kim. I don't see any other option than divorce, so we can both start over. No, Henry, please don't say that. I love you and need you. It would give you the opportunity to follow Wendy's example. You could tell your future partners about your need for other women so you can be open about it. I'm sure you could find someone who would agree with it, like Wendy did. But I love you, Henry. I won't have any other prospects because the only man I want is you. Isn't there some way to sort this out? Okay, Kim, I'll think about it some more. You gave me things I didn't think about. But I have to say one thing. No more meetings with Wendy. For us to have a chance, you need to limit your intimacy to just me. If anything even slightly suspicious happens, I will file for divorce on the same day. Is it clear? I understand. Will you come home? Yes, for now. Rebuilding our relationship is also necessary if we want to stay together, and we won't be able to do that by living in different places. Henry, I'd like to make love to you tonight, if that's okay. I really need to feel your warmth and love. I agreed. Who? I woke up in the arms of a loving Henry. I knew that our problems were far from solved, but I had hope. I told Henry the truth. I really didn't want to live seriously until I received that letter from Kelly that set me on the path I ultimately chose. I was surprised that I found Wendy so quickly and that we got along so well. The doctor's words tore a hole in my heart and soul. Suddenly, I was faced with the prospect of spending the rest of my life with only my husband. I loved and still love Henry with everything I have, but it was not what I expected from my life, and I did not have the strength to cope with it. I needed something more, and Wendy gave me that, although it was more emotional than physical. I didn't think Henry would approve, so I hid it from him. Obviously, it was a mistake, but I had good intentions. I didn't want to hurt him or make him feel insecure, which is how he reacted when he found out. Now I risk losing Henry. As much as Wendy means to me, it's nothing compared to what Henry means to me. I spend about 4 hours a week with Wendy, and that's just in addition to what Henry gives me. I can't live without Henry. I'll do whatever it takes. Henry. I realized that I needed a different perspective on the situation. I asked Kim to get me the phone number of Wendy's husband, Eric. After I introduced myself as Kim's husband, he agreed to meet me for lunch the next day. I take it you want to understand how I feel about Wendy dating other women. Exactly. The thought of Kim receiving sexual pleasure from another person, even a woman, makes me suffer. I was hoping you could explain how you deal with this to see if I could apply it to my life. I feel like this is my only chance. He paused for a moment, collecting his thoughts. I'll try to explain. First of all, I understand where you're coming from. It was very difficult for me too, especially the first time I heard them together. Did you hear them? I exclaimed. Yes, several times. I've never seen them, if that bothers you, but I've heard them. They really like each other. But over time, I realized that this was not a threat to my marriage. Wendy never talked about it or brought it up during arguments. It was just something she did during the day. Over time, I began to perceive this as a service that I could not provide. If there's a plumbing or electrical problem in the house, we call a professional because I can't do it. The same goes for that my wife needs a woman as a lover. I can't do it, so I'm glad there's someone she loves and trusts to help her through it. I realized that it was mainly my ego that was creating the problem. I had the idea in my head that any real man would be able to satisfy all his wife's needs, but I realized that this is not a universal solution. She is not just any woman, she is my wife, and her happiness requires a special approach. I thanked Eric for his time and insight into the situation. We talked about this for a long time, but it all came down to the same basic principle. Can I really see it this way? Wendy is simply providing a service that Kim needs that I can't provide. Of course, I don't feel jealous when we have a plumber or electrician in the house, and that was long before I knew about Kim's penchant for women. Of course, problems with the house and Kim's intimate needs are two completely different things. But I began to realize that it was probably partly my ego or pride. But as I thought about it, I realized that what really made me angry was that it was a deception. She cheated on me behind my back for 2 years, almost half of our 5-year marriage, and she never told me about wanting to be with other women, much less that she had someone else. I was robbed of the opportunity to make the right choice because I was not given all the facts. Would I have offered her my hand and heart if I had known about her previous relationships with girls, and that she even had to choose between marriage to a man and relationships with women? In addition, I was deprived of the opportunity to take part in its decision 2 years ago. I returned home that night to talk to Kim. She made a teriyaki chicken and beef stir-fry and some store-bought egg rolls. We ate dinner while having a normal conversation. I wanted to put off serious conversation so as not to be distracted by food. We washed the dishes together, as always, and then went into the living room. I talked to Eric today. I know. I assumed we'd talk tonight. He's given me some valuable advice on some issues, and at this level, I think I might be able to come to terms with your relationship with Wendy. A warm smile appeared on her face. Are you serious? Can I continue to see Wendy without losing you? I'm not finished yet. Her smile quickly disappeared. First of all, I was talking about the fact that you were dating Wendy, not that you continue to date her. But I have a hard time coming to terms with how it all happened. You cheated on me behind my back for 2 years. You lied to me regularly. Of course, now I doubt what else you did that I was unfortunate enough to find out about, and what else you lied to me about. Nothing like that happened again, I promise. I don't believe you, Kim, and that's the problem. I can't believe what you say. I can't even believe it when you say I'm the only man you want. Those trips to teacher conferences you've been on in recent years. Now I wonder what else happened, or if there was even a conference each time. You are my wife, and I can't trust you. I can't live like this. There must be some way to regain your trust. When I finished talking to Eric, I felt better about what he told me. But even as I began to accept that I could accept your time with Wendy, something continued to bother me. You explained that you really had to choose, be with a woman or become a wife and mother. I feel deceived and hurt that I was not given the opportunity to decide whether I wanted to marry such a woman. But I'm in the same position you talked about a couple of days ago. Now it's not so simple anymore. I love you, and if I give up on this, I will give up all the plans and dreams I had for us. Having children, raising a family, growing old together. We can still do this. We can adopt. I want to give you a family. But there will always be that ghost of another person in your life that you love as much as you love me. Don't try to deny it. I see it in your eyes. It may be a different love, but its quantity is the same. What if I devote myself to you, our life together, and something happens? Maybe something will happen to Eric, or they will get divorced and Wendy will be free. I have no confidence that you will not leave me to be with her all the time. I know you said you wouldn't do it, but like I said, I don't believe what you say. And even if this is true today, it may change. How can I reasonably be expected to risk my life for someone who is not willing to risk their life for me? It's like you're playing it safe. Well, it didn't work out with the kids, but I have a mistress. If the marriage doesn't work out, I'll still have Wendy or someone else. For me, the loss will be complete and utter. For you, it will be just a minor inconvenience. And then I will lose all these years. Her eyes flashed with anger. This is not true, and you know it. There is nothing insignificant or inconvenient about my love for you. Losing you would create a hole in my life that I couldn't get out of, no matter who or what else I had. Damn, Henry, can't you see that you are the love of my life? Whatever I did, I wanted you to be happy, and I didn't want to hurt you. I couldn't tell you because I knew you would react that way. But I needed it, Henry, to save my life and yours, by the way. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm a terrible person who can't be truly and completely happy with one person. But you are the man who makes me happier than any other person in this world, and I will not survive if you leave me, because there will be nothing in this world with which I can fill it. Wendy won't be enough without you. I need you. I love you. I want you. Please, please don't leave me. I will never hide anything from you again. I didn't give you a chance to approve, to help me survive, and I regret it. I would change it if I could, but I can't. I'll stop seeing Wendy if you ask me to. Nothing in my life is more important than you. My life is in your hands, Henry. Save it or throw it away. It's all up to you. I am in your power and at your mercy. Tears streamed down her face as she handed me her destiny. So what now? I needed more time to think. I called Matt and Angela and asked to use their guest room for a couple of nights. They confirmed that I am always a welcome guest. Kim packed my bag as I spoke, still caring for me as much as before. I'll be back in a couple of days and hopefully I'll figure out what I want to do. I love you, Kim. I'm just not sure it's enough. Wendy. I felt terrible. I understand that ultimately it was Kim who initiated our relationship, and all I did was respond and follow her rules, but I had to think about my role in this extramarital relationship. But after 2 years, I really fell in love with Kim and considered her an important part of my life. Even if we couldn't continue to be close, I hoped that we would remain friends, and I also wanted to help her. And with the encouragement of my wonderful husband, I came up with a way that might just save the marriage of the woman I adored. The next day I went to see Henry, who was staying with his friends Matt and Angela. Kim told me where he was, but didn't know I was going to visit him. I was nervous. Maybe he will slam the door on me or simply react aggressively to the person he perceives as destroying his marriage. I didn't know, but I had to try. I rang the doorbell. Henry opened the door, and I realized that he didn't recognize me. Sorry, but Matt and Angela are not here right now. It's okay. I came to you, Henry. I don't think you recognize me. I'm Wendy. Oh, did Kimberly send you? No, she doesn't know I'm here. She happened to mention where you were staying when we were talking last night. That's how I found you. Can I ask you for 5 minutes? Certainly. Come on in. Should I bring you anything? No, thank you. Well, you have 5 minutes. How can I help you? I sat down on a very comfortable sofa and Henry took the chair opposite me. I saw the pain in his eyes from everything that had happened, and I doubted that my presence was helping him, but I hoped that it would change. I came to ask you to return to Kim. If you do this, I won't bother her anymore. She loves you very much. She told me this many times. She needs you more than me. She wants you more and loves you more. Please don't leave her. Wendy, I appreciate you coming here for her. You seem to really care about each other, and I understand that there was no intention of disrespecting me, even if that's what ended up happening. But I'm in a very difficult situation. I love Kim very much, and I want her to be happy, but I can't continue to live knowing what you do to her. At the same time, by depriving her of this, I am causing her pain, which is not what I want, and this could negatively affect our marriage. But since she cannot have children, my choice comes down to the fact that either my wife will have sex with another person or she will suffer from emptiness in life. I really don't know what to do. Well, I'd like to propose. I think this can be called a suggestion that may help you. Wendy, if you have a suggestion that I haven't thought of, I'm listening to you carefully. Well, this is something you thought about, but didn't know how to implement it. My suggestion is that you and Kim have a child. Henry reacted exactly as I expected, with complete bewilderment, since he knew as well as anyone that Kim could not have children. I continued, Henry, we know that Kim cannot get pregnant, but do you know if she will be able to physically carry the child to term? I don't know, and I don't understand how important this is. If she can't get pregnant, then what's her ability to carry a child? Kim and I are very similar physically, aren't we? Kim and I were about the same height, with a trim, athletic build, dark brown hair, and small breasts. I would say that it is so. So, I want to offer you help so that you and Kim have a child. If she cannot bear the child, I am ready to bear the child for you. The physical resemblance between Kim and me will make her look like a biological mother. Of course, I would hope to remain a part of your life and the life of the child, but it is up to you to decide, and my offer remains valid even if you do not agree to it. I watched Henry's reaction, and he seemed stunned. His eyes moistened, but no tears fell. Wendy, this is an extremely generous offer. Have you talked to Eric about this? He agrees with this. Firstly, he understands my guilt for becoming part of your problems. Secondly, he knows how sexually active I become when I'm pregnant, and he likes the idea of enjoying that without having a child to raise later. We both laughed about it. I continued, I understand that you will need to think about this. I didn't tell Kim about this, so she won't know if you decide to refuse. Just let me know what you decide, and we'll move on. I have to go. Thanks for your time. Henry. Crap. Here is another complexity, and an interesting one. I discussed it with Matt and Angela that night. They were unanimous in their belief that I needed to get my head out of my ass, get back to the woman I love and who loves me, and find a solution to this problem. Giving up is not a solution. It will ruin our lives. It became clear to me that they were probably right. I'll have to swallow my pride and let go of some preconceived expectations if I want to move forward. It was as Eric said, she is not just a woman, she is my wife, and her happiness requires a solution that is right for her and for us. The next day I went to work and returned home in the evening. Kim was already there and was preparing dinner for us. I hugged her and gave her a kiss. Does this kiss mean what I dare to hope for? We'll talk after dinner, which, by the way, smells great. When you make coffee after dinner, make more. We will have guests. With these words, I went to the bedroom and changed clothes. I was shaking all over with excitement. I was definitely stepping outside of my comfort zone, but it was absolutely necessary. Dinner was ordinary, although we hardly spoke. We were both lost in thought. I was thinking about what I was going to do and say, and she was probably thinking about how her life would change. We washed the dishes together again, and shortly after, Wendy and Eric, whom I had invited, arrived. Kim, I'm ready to try again, but I have conditions that you must hear and accept before you make a decision. Darling, whatever the conditions, I'm sure I'll agree. If you stay with me, I will accept everything. First of all, and I think you already know this, you must end your intimate relationship with Wendy. I love you and I want you to be happy, but I just can't deal with it. Either my wife will only be intimate with me, or I will be the only one she will not be intimate with. I expected this, dear, and I already told you that I was ready to do it. Secondly, I want our sex life to become more intense, and hopefully it will bring pleasure to both of us and to be more frequent. This is important to our lives and our marriage. I also want you to initiate intimacy sometimes. When I always have to start, it makes me feel like you're just doing it to check in and do me a favor, and I want to feel like you want that too. It won't be a problem, dear. Once I realized that I could lose you forever, I realized how much I really want you. I've wanted to make love to you every night since this all started because I finally realized how much I love you and how much I need you. I kept you at a distance all this time, thinking that this way I was protecting myself. But in reality, I was only hurting myself. Finally, you will have to quit your job. I earn enough to provide for us without any problems. But Henry, I love my job, and I don't see how this has anything to do with our situation. Could you explain? Certainly. First of all, it's not immediate. You can continue working until the end of the next school year. But after this, you will be needed at home to take care of the children. I don't want my children to be raised in kindergarten. Wah, what children, Henry? I smiled at her. Our children, dear. I, I don't understand. I called Dr. Zimmerman's office to find out something. You probably remember the medical consent form you signed, allowing me to obtain any information about your medical condition. Well, I had a question for the doctor, in particular, whether you would be able to carry a child to term if you somehow became pregnant. The answer, unfortunately, is negative. It wasn't the answer I was hoping for, but it wasn't unexpected. So there is no hope. My dear, there is only hope. You see, someone, call it God or whatever, took pity on us and sent us a savior, and she's sitting in front of you now. Wendy, what are you talking about? Wendy, what does he mean? Wendy intervened. Sorry, Kim, that's his business. Thank you, Wendy. Honey, it's entirely up to you, so you need to think about it, okay? I had already made the decision that this was the only way to save us and our marriage, and ironically, the very person you found in your dark moment is now bringing us light. Wendy offered to carry the child herself for us, and when he was born, give him to us. We will complete all the necessary paperwork, which will likely require you to officially adopt the children so that your name appears on the birth certificates. Tears filled Kim's eyes as she ran towards Wendy. Oh my God, Wendy, thank you, thank you, thank you. I agree, I agree. I never thought that I could become a mother, but you made my deepest dream come true. Kim, darling, this is a small thing I'm doing for you, considering everything you've done for me. Henry. I raised my hand to stop her. Wendy, you have made an incredibly generous offer, and I cannot be selfish enough to deny you a role in our children's lives and our lives in general. I hope that you and Kim, actually all four of us, remain one family for the rest of our lives. Whatever happens next, we will be inextricably linked because of the journey we have all taken in our own ways. I don't have any brothers or sisters, but from today you both are the sisters I never had, and I sincerely hope that we will see you almost every day for the rest of our lives. 10 months after that conversation, Wendy carried Kim and me to 38 weeks with twins. We named the girls Wendy and Tracy. Her help might have ended there, but Wendy offered us another child after she and Eric had a third themselves. She wanted us to have as many children as they had. So, 4 years later, after the birth of the twins, their younger sister Olivia was born. In total, Wendy carried 6 children through 5 pregnancies, including her own. To my surprise, she allowed me to be present in the delivery room and cut the umbilical cord when my children were born. She was my savior in many ways, none of which could have been predicted when I first met her, catching her making love to my wife and intent on destroying her before realizing she was a woman, which of course stopped her. Me at that moment. Kim and I moved into a house next door to Eric and Wendy, and our kids are growing up like best friends. I have achieved great success in the computer industry, earning over 6 figures annually. Eric also makes a good living, but college will be difficult for them. I assured them that they did not have to worry about a penny of these costs. They gave me more than I can pay back, but paying for college seems like a good start. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next